Okay, it was an almost $20 batch, but someone else got the order. It also had like high mileage, I guess, which I need to get gas soon. But it's been a struggle for sure. Honestly, it's been a big struggle since I started this job, if I'm being honest. And I try not to complain because I know it's like I just have to deal with it and do what I can, but I can't continue like just struggling and not say anything and not advocate for myself and just be frustrated working somewhere. So I'm advocating for myself, which is something I want to be better at. And if my job is not able to or willing to work with what I need, and I'm not asking for something that's like they can't do. I feel like it'd be one thing if I was like demanding something impossible. It's just like I need more hours and I would like to be making more money an hour, because it's not fair that other people, this supposed policy change is paying people less to do the same job as everyone else, and all the other people working here are being paid, got like an increase for once they were certified. So I feel like that is also something I would have liked to have known or in advance. And again, the hourly I'm making right now would be decent if I had 40 hours, but they don't really give people 40 hours here. They only guarantee 30. So I would still need to be making, I would have to make $24 an hour in order for me to be making what $18 an hour full for 40 hours is worth. I think I got bit by a mosquito, y'all, and I don't like it. My hand is itching. Ugh. But I'm learning to advocate for myself and stand up for myself so I don't keep getting taken advantage of.
653.
Hi.
Any sauce?
Can I do ranch and ketchup?
I will pick up my order, please. Here you go. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, you too. Alright, we're about to head home. I'm going to try to do Instacart this weekend. Hopefully, it'll be busier. I've tried to do it a little bit throughout this week and I haven't been getting a lot of orders. It's very limited, it seems like, which is like one of the things that makes me, again, when I tell people like my job has to be my main source of income, and if my main job is not paying my bills, I can't really depend on Instacart or side hustle jobs, because it's not busy in my area, and I would have to either drive somewhere else, which is more gas, in hopes of making more money. But really, I just would like to have one full-time job that pays the bill and not have to have multiple jobs, but I get that there's a lot of people who work multiple jobs just to make ends meet, but that's like a stress that I don't want to put on myself. But I might have to, because at this point I'm trying to find a better, looking for other positions, but I might try to get my work at TJ Maxx again part-time. But I also think like your side, if you're doing a side gig, it should be something that is higher paying. So like I would be working more hours but making less an hour at one of my jobs. So I'm like, is that worth it? Or I could do Instacart, where you have the potential to make, you know, at least 20 an hour. But I feel like with Instacart, my hourly wage is not actually that, and also you have a much higher gas expense. Not as much as doing Uber though. When I was doing Uber rides, my gas expense was off the charts, y'all. Like I remember I did it for one weekend, or 1 week, I only made like $300, but I spent almost $100 in gas. So I kept getting orders that were like extremely far. And then you have to remember, if you drive 70 miles for one ride, you have to drive 70 miles back. So really that's 140 miles. And that's why I feel like it's like everything has, you have to weigh the cost plus like what are the actual benefits. Because to me, the cost and the benefits were not good. And then you're putting a mileage on your car, which means you're going to have more maintenance. So I'm trying to consider all possibilities. But Uber, I think I really only was trying Uber because my youngest sister had been doing it and she's been making a lot of money, but she lives in a touristy area where people are more willing and more needing of rides versus where I live. I wasn't getting as many rides, and it was mainly people needing rides, like who needed rides because they didn't have a car, and people aren't tipping on a lot of those types of rides. People don't tip for things that they need. They tip for things that are luxuries, is what I've realized as just someone who's worked in different service jobs. Like, people don't tip as well on Instacart as they do on an Uber Eats food delivery. You know, people would rather who are using Instacart because they need groceries and maybe can't afford a car to go, or whatever reason. Like, it's just like you get people tip less for grocery shopping, which is like a necessity obviously, than they do for, you know, they're eating out and can tip for you doing like just an Uber Eats or like DoorDash, stuff like that. I can't do DoorDash anymore, which kind of sucks, but I guess it's just not something I shouldn't even say was meant to do. It's just something that I can no longer do, so I can't focus on it. And then everything else is just basically my only thing I can do right now for side money is Instacart, and Instacart is not really good in my area, so it's kind of counter It's like if you need something to make money, but you can't really make money off of it, is it really something that you can trust? No. I also think you just have to be more willing to make sacrifices, which there's some things that, I know I have to sacrifice, that I'm not always willing. I want to be able to do things that I want. And the truth is, when you're going through financial struggles or stress, you have to go without some things. So I try not to go as many places unless it's necessity. Try to limit how much I'm spending, but it also just gets to a point where you're like, slow down. I have it's really easy for me to speed on this road, and I do not want to get any more tickets or just tickets in general. I cannot afford a ticket. So anyways, it's like I'm limiting myself in a lot of ways, but at the same time, I feel like it's hard for me to go without certain things, and that is where I have to have self-control and discipline. And I also think I'm more disciplined when I make more money, is the other side of that issue. It's easier to go without something when it's something that you're willingly choosing to go without versus you have to. From I don't know how to explain that in from a psychological standpoint. Basically, it's like doing without something because you can't afford it is different than going without something that you can afford. It's actually your choice when you can do something but choose not to. When you're going without something but it's not really your choice, it's because you have to. That's not really discipline. It's more like you're only putting up with it because you can, and I feel like that's how it is. It's like you don't really want to go without that thing. You feel forced to, so then when you finally get the money to afford those things, you kind of go crazy. I think that's another aspect of my shopping addiction, if I'm being honest, not being able to afford certain things for so long, and then as soon as I get some money, I try to go out and spend on all the things I had to go without that I didn't really want to. And that's not a good habit either. That's why I know for myself, from my experience, I'm a lot more financially responsible when I make more money and when my money is more stable, because I know I can have something, but I'm choosing not to have it. And that's a better, you're making that choice actively and intentionally, because I'd rather see more money in my account than spend money on something unnecessary. Now, I also think you can be a little bit of both. I just know if I'm making less than $1,000 each paycheck, I am not in a good place with my finances if my paychecks are less than $1,000. And that is just my personal experience and Like, my budget that I do have that I want to follow is based off of making at least $2,000 a month, and that allows me to save between $800 to $1,000 every month. And my minimum I have to make is $1,000. Is my bare minimum. 1,000, I would say 1,200 if I want to save something at all, but 1,000 is what I need to actually pay all my bills, and I haven't been making that. So that gives you guys an idea of a lot of my issues. But we're still surviving. I made it this far. I'll get through this situation as I've gotten through a bunch of other ones. So it's not the end of the world. It's just not a good position for me to be in. And I'm going to work as hard as I can and try to just let God guide me to the right positions or the right choice as far as if I can get another job, or if my job will be willing to work with me a little bit. So